Welcome back down pit row, Tiger Bomb Sports fans. This is Ralph. I'm your host. We're going to talk about NASCAR Sprint Cup action. That's what we do here on Pit Row, not to be confused with Pit Road, which you travel down when you are in a NASCAR Sprint Cup Series race. That's the aim of the game. Talk about those races, understand what we see, get better on DraftKings, FanDuel, websites like that where we already crush it, and some of the other sports like fantasy baseball, football, whatever. Really quickly, you can find us at www.tigerbombsae.com. You can listen to this podcast there. You can watch this podcast. Every podcast has a page, so just click on the Pit Row page. You can also look at the other podcasts. You can see the True Crime page there, the fantasy football, baseball, whatever else you're looking for. If you are a social media person, we can keep up on Facebook and Twitter. Just search for Tiger Bomb Sports Audio Entertainment. We will pop up, or just search Tiger Bomb Sports Audio Entertainment. Search the same way if you're using an app that you use to listen to your podcast. So Stitcher, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, whatever. Tiger Bomb Sports Audio Entertainment. Like and subscribe. We can stay connected. Before we discuss what we're going to see at the Tricky Triangle this week, let's go back and talk about the Crayon 301 at New Hampshire Motor Speedway last week that finally got underway on Monday. The rain prohibited this race from taking place on Sunday. Good call by NASCAR to just get it out the way early. I'm on the West Coast. By the time I wake up, they've already said we're not going to do this today. So good use of thought process, not dragging it out, right? But anyways, Monday, we go green. Order early is Bell, Truex, Logano, Almirola, and Blaney. Truex challenging down low. He passed pretty easily. The cars don't look great early on. A lot of bumping, a lot of rigid turning, like grip is an issue. A lot of loose cars sliding around the track. And then we get a caution out early. The 16 spins around in the turn. Only really loses 5 places, though, so not a big deal. Then Gragson is able to get back on the lead lap. Most everybody going to bring it in here. Guys send their too loose, get a few adjustments here and there at this early stage in the race. But then we get our restart. Stenhouse and Byron, not Brian, Byron. That is William Byron. So Stenhouse and William Byron stayed out. So they're up front at this point in the race, and Hamlin and McDowell as well. So the order becomes Byron, Truex, Almirola, Stenhouse, Reddick, Hamlin, McDowell, Suarez. They're mixed in on old tires. We're bumping. We're grinding into 2. So Truex Jr. out front now. Byron is second at this point. He passes pretty easily. Orders Truex, Byron, Reddick, Almirola, Hamlin, Blaney Bell at this point. 20 to go in stage 1. Ty Gibbs is moving up, though, up 23 spots at this point in the race, so fastest mover by far. Bell and Hamlin in the battle, basically. Those cars are just back and forth each turn. And Truex poised to take the stage with Kyle Busch having big smoke, contact against the wall. His third time that weekend. They didn't even make it to stage 2. His car is done. And this is something that, Kyle was hoping to have a nice finish here. They hit the wall once, I believe, in qualifying. They hit it once again in practice, and then once here in the actual race. So too much to overcome for them. Terrible way to end their day for somebody who's been so high in the point standing and a true championship contender at this point in the year, we can say. So Truex is swift off pit road during this caution, Bell too. So we go stage 2 green, and the order early becomes Truex, Byron, Almirola, Blaney, Hamlin, and Suarez, and then Almirola up to second easily. Green flag pits start to come through. Lap 60 of 115 in the stage, and they come to pit road basically. Eric Jones brings out the caution, though, after that, after a little bit of green flag racing for quite a while. So we get down to 13 cars at this point with the wave around to get back up on the lead lap. That gives us 18 to go in stage 2. Restart now, Almirola, and we get a caution. He gets into the wall, huge damage on the 10. Right rear tire wheel seemed to have a loose lug nut. That was an issue on the day a couple of times for some folks. He was out front on the outside, and he just lost the rear. Very disappointing day for the 10. He was running so well at this point all day. So pretty terrible thing for them to have happen at that point in the race. And the nasty part about it is you hear them on the radio. He's asking if it's, if everything is tight. He wants to be sure. He's not sure it feels tight. They tell him everything is tight. And then he goes out there and this happens. And then he says, what happened? And then they have to say on the radio, we had a loose lug nut. That's got to be very infuriating when you asked about this specific thing right before we left pit road, right? Or right after we left or whatever. So disappointing. Anyways, all those cars that stayed out during this pit right here got a break because, that stayed out before the incident got a break. Now they were on old tires, maybe run out of gas, but they get to come now to pit row and get back on the lead lap because they were still out there. So they hadn't cycled through any of those green flag pits. So this was good for everybody who was waiting. 27 cars back on the lead lap now. A huge break for Logano, Larson, Wallace, among others. These guys are facing lap down. Now you're inside the top 15, basically. So huge break. So restart again now. Logano low, Larson high, Truex behind Larson, Truex stalking, single file up top, and then it fans out. Truex on those fresh tires versus Larson on just 2 tires after that one pit. Truex passes with 9 to go in the stage. 6 and the 45 are bumping. And we get 3 wide at points again here. A lot of contact. 4 to go now. Truex, Larson, Logano, Blaney, Hamlin, Harvick, Bowman, and Brad K. And Truex again. Second stage win today. He looks strong. Truex out just dominating everybody at this point in the race. So we get our restart for stage 3, and the order becomes early on Truex, Blaney, Logano, Brad K, Hamlin, Austin Dillon, and Burton. Eric Jones kissing the wall in turn 2, but we're still racing hard. No caution there. Green flag for a bit with Truex out front. Battles everywhere as guys vie for a playoff spot. You got Elliott battling. Harvick is battling. Larson is battling. 75 to go. New order is Truex, Blaney, Logano on 2 tires in third. Brad K, does he feel lucky today? Larson, Bell, Hamlin, Briscoe, Harvick, Wallace maintaining. Lap traffic from Eric Jones. They get around him. Truex running a different line from those chasing him at this point in the race. They were catching him, and he's decided to just go back to what was working for him instead of trying to do what they were doing since they were gaining so much on him, gaining so much momentum. So Truex says he's too loose. He can't ride like they are. So, we'll abandon it. That's smart. Glad that we got to hear all this play out on the radio. Very cool. At this point in the race, he's led all but 11 laps. 65 to go. Blaney heads to pit road for 4 and fuel. Truex probably brings it in now, and he does. Great stop for the 19. He just gained some gap time on that incredible stop. So he was just hard to beat out front. And then he was great in the pit cycles all day. And so he just kept reestablishing his lead, which is great. We're cycling through the pits now, 58 to go. And with Dillon finally bringing it in, Austin Dillon, we cycle through with 44 to go. That was the last green flag pit. New order now, Truex, Blaney, Larson, Logano, Bell, Hamlin, Suarez, Wallace. And then, yikes, Gregson's 42 is having trouble. Brought out the caution now. A lot of damage. Lug nut, like it's been the theme of the day. Came loose, looks like. So a restart, terrible break for him too, trying to really cement himself and gain some momentum here at this point in the season. But anyways, restart now with 24 to go. Harvick had stayed out, but he's fading fast on those old tires. Truex ahead of him now. So Truex, Harvick, Logano, Larson, Dillon, Reddick, Briscoe, Brad K. Logano definitely fighting with Harvick now, trying to overtake him. Caution. We get Bowman get hits from behind by Ty Gibbs. Very narrow lanes, not intentional, just battling, but Ty gives him some help from behind to get the spin around. So we get a restart again. Truex still out front. Logo still just behind because he'd overtaken Harvick. Harvick is third, then Larson, Reddick, Dillon, Briscoe, Brad K, and Bell. Christopher Bell. It goes into the wall, though. Right rear damage at this point in the race. So here we are with 11 to go. Good job to Bell's team. They get him back out there. That's a fantastic job. So he's running 28th, but you want to finish, right? You want to finish. So green flag racing now. Truex out front. Logano in the 5 battling. Logo clears Larson. Truex increasing his lead. Now the order is Truex, Logano, Larson, Harvick, Brad K, Reddick, Dillon, Briscoe, Hamlin, Jones, and Wallace at this point in the race. Ty Gibbs up into the wall in turn 4. Still green, though. 2 laps to go, and the white flag comes out. Truex is on some run right now, you guys, and he takes it. First win at the Magic Mile for Martin Truex Jr. He won every stage. He dominated the race. He's been on a roll. He's hard to beat right now, ladies and gentlemen. As a reflection for how we decided to play it on DraftKings or wherever else you were playing, definitely indicated the Toyotas and the Gibbs cars as the something that we wanted to focus on because of the history here, the rich history. Definitely had Truex as something to focus on because of the rich history here. This was not a week where I won a ton of money on DraftKings, but I played a lot less, but I still did a little bit better than break even. And that is always really what we're talking about. Doesn't matter if you play 5 cents, $5, $500, $500,000. You want to bring back more to the coffers than you put in. And every time you do that, no matter how big or small the amount, then that is the victory, right? And so even with small amounts, we will take that because if you're bringing back green, then you're stacking money from the house that we can then put back into contests. And so this is a whole strategy that if you're really serious about learning, listen to the Fantasy Football Podcast, which are just around the corner. We're a couple of weeks away from our sixth season of fantasy football if you're interested in that. But anyways, that was New Hampshire. A lot of exciting stuff there. But we, want to continue the trend this week and take a look at what we're starting to see data-wise. We have a couple of races now on so many of these tracks with the Gen 7 car. Last year was a lot of guessing because new car, and in some cases, new tracks, revitalized tracks, you need data, right? And so now as a point of reflection, we can be stronger. We will use this again this week as we take a look forward to the highpoint.com 400 at Pocono Raceway. Woo woo. We're going to do the triangle, you guys. If you're not familiar with this track, you should be. Shame on you. But just 3 turns. That's what makes this unique. Turn 1 at 14 degrees of banking. You see drivers go 3, 4, and sometimes, try to get 5 wide into the corner there. Not uncommon in turn 1. Turn 2, they call that the tunnel turn. Very short, flat corner, and it can be problematic for guys who especially don't have a lot of history there. Then turn 3, which is flat but long, and you got a wide corner before flooring it down the long straightaway front stretch. So I think that's the most exciting part of the track right there. I can't wait to see what happens on Sunday. To note, Denny Hamlin and Kyle Busch lead all active drivers and wins at the Tricky Triangle. Hamlin's got 6, Kyle Busch has got 4. Now, last year they finished 1 and 2 before inspections had them both eliminated. Hamlin had trouble early in that race last year. I'm wondering, he had a spin around. I'm wondering if some of what they did during that fix-it process got them in trouble later. I was just trying to cue on when did they have a chance to do some stuff that NASCAR felt like they should not have done. Maybe that was it. I don't know. But anywho, those are the most 2 winningest guys here. Now, this would be perfect opportunity for Hamlin to reassert himself. He has not had a very strong season so far. Not terrible, but he's still looking for that marquee victory. This can be it right here. And we know that these Gibbs cars do well here historically. In fact, the last 5 Pocono races were won by 5 different drivers. And so he can be the different driver, okay? Joe Gibbs, though, like I was saying, they've won 6 of these last 10 Pocono races. And so you start to look at that. It's him, and you want to look at Christopher Bell, who obviously wants to have a much better week than they did last week. There was some frustration there. Can they turn it around? This would be a perfect opportunity to do that. And so just consider that as we make these lineups. There are a couple of changes from NASCAR, though. Number 1, actually, before we get to the safety changes, Goodyear switch up the tire game a little bit. The left side tires that we're going to use for Sunday's race are the tires that they used at Fontana in Las Vegas, in Kansas, and Nashville. And this is the first time they're going to use those tires at Pocono. Now, the right side tire is actually the same one that they used at Pocono last season, so no change there. Each Cup team, though, going to get 1 set for practice, 1 for qualifying, and then you get the 6 sets for the race. Now, as I said, NASCAR updated some safety measures for this race, and so We'll go through those really quickly because it matters to the drivers. Alongside the right side door bars and extending toward the rear clip, teams are mandated to run a steel plate in addition to the chassis adjustments made for the Coca-Cola 600 at Charlotte Motor Speedway. The right side door bar gussets and the removal of the front clip V-brace are new changes that remain. And in addition to that, the removal of the other front clip components create like this softer, larger crush zone for frontal impacts. Also included in the updates, front bumper strut softening. So modifications to existing parts right there. The requirement of an empty front ballast box and modified cross brakes. And so NASCAR is going to eat the cost of making all these changes, but now you have to make those changes. All right. And that's important because you look at when we talk about packaging the cars and how they'll run, they're set up, right? You can only make so many allowable changes. And so these teams want to get their unique setup for their make and model that works. That's what NASCAR drivers and teams are trying to do during the race, during practice, during qualify. Get their setup right in terms of the allowable changes that you can make through NASCAR. So we'll head to Long Pond, Pennsylvania Sunday for one of the longest tracks that NASCAR runs. It's a 2.5 mile track. This ain't a shorty. The purse is going to be just over 7.2 milli. Race distance, we're going 400 miles, and that'll be 160 laps around this bad boy. Stage breaks will be at 30 and 95. Hamlin, as we said, has got 6 victories here, 2 in the last 6 races. He's also led laps in 10 of his last 11 trips to Pocono. That's pretty impressive. I'm really telling you guys, this is where the money is at this week. Now, we also want to take a look at guys that maybe you didn't win last year, but who performed well in this Gen 7 car. McDowell, for one. We want to take a look at what he did last year. Inside the top 15, I think he finished 13th. That's good. That's good for the value you're getting for him down in that sub $7,000 price range on DraftKings. And so we've got to have interest there. You've got to have interest in Ty Gibbs, right manufacturer, right car. Data from last year for him probably not going to gel for our purposes, but we can take a look at what else is going on with the team. And so we do like him. And Bubba Wallace ran well here last year as well. We can invest there too. Bubba is trying to make a playoff push. This team has been more consistent than they had shown at the start of the year and just really putting together some quality runs down the stretch here. These are going to be salary savers. Of course, everybody wants to play their Kyle Busch. Of course, everybody wants to play their Hamlin. Of course, everybody wants to play their, Chase Elliott. But you've got to be able to supplant these guys. So again, we're going right back to Bowman because he's still trying to race for something too, and that salary has not moved. Chastain's salary's moved up. He was doing well here last year before getting into it with Denny Hamlin. I have interest there. Pair him with Suarez because his salary is low. Suarez has a little pressure. They want to be assertive. They want to be aggressive. But I like them. I like front row, as I said. I also have some interest in Stenhouse. These are folks that are going to be able to, as I said, buffer those larger salaries. And the one you might not think of, Eric Jones, I want you to take a look at what he did last year. He ran well towards the end of that race, finished inside top 12, I think. If he can repeat that at the salary that they're giving him to us on Sunday, this is going to be worthwhile for us. As usual, you want to watch practice and then you want to watch qualifying to really get a sense of what we should be seeing. I said that last week, and I was reassured by what I was doing on Sunday by watching what the Toyotas were doing. Now, we want to do the same thing this week and just see if something else jumps out besides what we already know about these Toyotas. And so obviously, we mentioned Wallace, but you want to throw Reddick in there too, of course, as well as Bell, who we mentioned. We talked about the salary savers. You can play Hendrick. We talked about some, Trackhouse, some front row. So we've given you a lot to go with this week, some people to maybe stay away from as well. Always important to note, right? Some of the guys I've been leaning on, I'm not sure how well they're going to do this week. Boucher, Brad Kay. I mean, these are guys that I would love to see do well, but this isn't a heart game. This is a head game. And so I'm unless I see something in qualifying, I'm going to stay away from those guys. But that's why we have our Eric Joneses, right? Almirola might stay away from him this week, but you definitely have enough salary savers down there at the bottom. So if you're playing, good luck. Enjoy watching the race. We'll come back here next week, talk about what we saw, and get ready for the next one. Have a great weekend, everybody. Peace.